they have no remorse. They don't care. I think they haven't learned their lesson.
Now at 11, clergy abuse survivors and their advocates taking their fight to expose priests right to the doorstep of a Bay Area diocese, while a survivor is working against the clock to uncover the secrets of the Catholic Church name by name. Good evening, I'm Sarah Donchi. Advocates fighting for clergy abuse survivors met in Oakland today. In February of 2019, the Oakland Diocese released a list of 45 clergymen with credible allegations of sexual abuse up until the 1980s. And now, survivors organization SNAP is demanding to expand their list. They presented a list of 227 names, claiming all of them are accused predators associated with the Diocese of Oakland. Betty, you spoke with an abuse survivor who is encouraging victims to come forward before time runs out. So, Betty, I know that the window to file a suit is actually closing by the end of the year.
That's right. So any victim of childhood sexual abuse can bring a civil suit regardless of how long ago that abuse took place by New Year's Eve. Today, an advocate told me it takes most victims years, if not decades, to speak up, and he wants them to do so while there's still time. Joey Piscatelli says he was first molested when he was playing pool at a Catholic school in Richmond when he was 14 years old. He said the abuse by a priest went on for more than a year and a half.
I think the most prominent side effect I deal with is chronic insomnia and triggering, flashbacks, nightmares, and dissociation. I still seek help for that.
Joey is 66 years old, but his memories of sexual abuse are painful and vivid. As the Northern California leader of the Suvivors Network of those abused by priests, or SNAP, he helps victims of all ages.
First of all, most kids who are abused don't come forward for at least 25 to 30 years. That's why you're seeing all these lawsuits being filed later. And so the victims or survivors suffer a multitude of after effects. Everything from triggering to alcoholism to criminal activity to inability to have relationships.
Joey said he knows there are far more abusers and victims than are publicly known. But today, his organization held a press conference to unveil a list of East Bay priests and other members they say have been accused of sexual abuse, mostly against children.
We have found in Northern California 687 unique abusers who wandered through 530 parishes. It's an amazing statistic because it means that no place was safe.
SNAP has compiled a list of 227 names, much longer than the 65 names that have been published by the Diocese of Oakland. On Monday, SNAP delivered the letter, meant for Bishop Michael Barber, to a driver outside the Cathedral of Christ the Light. In 2019, AB 218 created a 3-year period for victims of childhood sex abuse to come forward, even if their statute of limitations had ended.
I got a call the other day from a victim who is 70 and he's never come forward before. And so that's not unusual. So my message to victims is you have a chance now to get some kind of vindication. So I would take it while the window's still open.
Today, the Diocese of Oakland told KPIX it considers all misconduct allegations by clergy to be serious and is reviewing the list of clergy members from SNAP. The diocese also said that it has had policies and a formal process of reviewing and responding to allegations in place for many years. Sarah?
These stories are always so haunting when we talk about them. You know, anything involving children is just, it's so difficult to hear that. I wonder what happened with Joey's own case. I know his story started many, many years ago, as you mentioned in your piece.
That's right. He said his abuse started in the 70s. He won his civil case in 2006, and then he won his appeal in 2010. But he also said that the priest accused of abusing him is still working with the church in Berkeley today.
Wow. All right, Betty, thank you so much for